I'm a better person now.
I'm a better person.
I'm a better person.
I've repented.
I've repented.
I've repented. Liam
I've
Neeson.
repented.
I've repented.
I'm Liam Neeson and I've repented.
Roll the intro.
Evening, officer. Is something wrong?
Just keep your hands where I can see them. Routine traffic stop. We got reports of someone driving under the influence. You know anything about that?
No, I'm only under one influence.
What's that?
The influence of Jesus.
It's time for Under the Influence.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children.
Hello again, listeners and friends. Welcome to yet another discussion between the guys. I am once again and always Jerry, your beloved intro monologuer, and I am very thankful that you are here. And seriously, I sincerely mean that. It would be very easy for me to just read that off of a prepared bit of text, but no. This is now me going off script for just a second and telling you how thankful I am that you listen to this podcast. And I'm so thankful that you engage us online in other places and tell us what you think about it. And tell us how you think about the topics we're talking about. And what you think of the jokes we made. And how you're talking about some of these same things with other people, with us, and with your friends. It is so meaningful to me and all of us. So thank you again. I have had some incredible discussions this week specifically with listeners of the podcast about a whole slew of topics related to episodes. And it has been beyond encouraging that not only are people enjoying the conversations three friends are having and learning from, but that it is starting other conversations just like it amongst our listeners. I will again here shortly and shamelessly plug, I know, I'm a terrible guy, shamelessly plug our Patreon. Please do not feel that it is necessary by any means that you support us on Patreon, but I implore you, if you see the value in what God is directing us to do at Christian Influence and would like to be a part of furthering our goals for it, please consider becoming a patron. It goes a long way to helping us do more things like this podcast, and you get occasional new bonus content because of it. Thank you to those who have already supported us, and now without further ado, I will shout out all of our new patrons. So here goes. RJ, Christy Knudsen, Mikey Noodles, John Tech, Austin. He's AMKCI, one of our Christian influence streamers. Timothy Nye, Joel Crane, Brian on a PC, Jerry Crane. That's my dad. Thanks, Dad. Chuck Connery, and Matt Canary? Who's this guy? I wonder if he knows he's pronouncing his name wrong. Seems like it should probably be Connery, like the guy before him, but I don't know. So, thank you again, all of you, for your support. You seriously rock. Now, about this episode, it's a special one to me because, frankly, not only did I have a blast recording it, like I always do, but we talk about something that has been on my mind considerably. And that something is how Christians should react to the media we consume and what determines what should concern us about it. Specifically, we talk about how I have been convicted about whether I should still be watching Critical Role. Now, we define it well in the episode, but just to preface it, I will say it is an actual play D&D show, which means a bunch of voice actors get together and play Dungeons and Dragons. Now, to some of you, that may sound awesome, and others, I lost you at D&D show. But more importantly, it is like the most professional entertainment form of one of my favorite hobbies, so just look at it that way. And like any hobby, whether sports, gaming, or even something simple like reading, these hobbies can serve to build us up and enrich our lives, or they can serve the counter to that and tear us down, or simply wear down our resolve and willingness to hold our values. 1 Thessalonians 5:21 through 22 says, "But test everything, hold fast what is good, abstain from every form of evil." This specifically is, I think, a fairly adequate answer to the question I prompt in this episode. The things we enjoy, especially the things we enjoy, are often something we allow to compromise our values. But the verse doesn't say, quote, test everything except the things you find really fun. It tells us to test everything. So I've been making an effort to do just that, and most importantly, with the things I find myself consuming and dwelling on most often. And it's not easy, especially reaching the possible conclusion that something you greatly enjoy needs to be cut from your life. It could be a person leading you astray, an activity that commonly finds you in a compromised place where sinning may be more easy, or even just your favorite show that happens to regularly advocate the ways of the world, and this show happens to deny the glory and truth of God. So I'll leave you with this. It's a verse from not only my favorite book of the Bible, but the chapter I am specifically most partial to. Philippians 4:8 says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things." When faced with the challenge of walking away from the things that we love that don't please God, remember that we are told exactly, quote, "If anything is worthy of praise, think about these things." Think and dwell instead on those things worthy of praise, those things that are true, honorable, and pure. Don't waste your time with the things that don't matter and things that the world loves, but be purposeful with the things you enjoy. Thank you again for hearing me. I sincerely love these talks. I regularly look forward to them. And as always, I am praying for you, and I hope that you have a great week. Enjoy episode 9 of Under the Influence.
Than a bicycle, my dude.
He's a little bit bigger than a bicycle. Welcome back to Under the Influence, the official podcast of Christian Influence. I'm your host, Jude Crane, joined by your favorite co-hosts,
Levi Thiessen.
And Jerry Crane. We're the
Jerry
favorites
Crane.
today, huh?
Yeah, you're the favorite.
All right, well, while I got your attention, check us out on ChristianInfluence.net. Get involved with the podcast, the community, our gaming servers, all that. You'll see on our website a link to our Discord where you can discuss a myriad of topics, but primarily you could, if you're a listener, go discuss this podcast. Point out how ridiculous we are or how our opinions are wrong, or just maybe talk about what you liked about it or what you'd like to see in the future. So please get involved. We would love to talk to some of you. I mean, not all of you.
Not all of you, just some.
But some of you. Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Levi.
Oh.
Go ahead. It sounded like you were going to say something really profound. You said
Oh, well,
Whatever
I
you
had a
had to say
dream.
was
I had a dream that I
probably
was
ridiculous.
the God Emperor
the God Emperor?
from
Oh, from-
Warhammer 40K.
I don't know Warhammer 40. enough.
Yeah, and I led this rebellion thing, and it was pretty dope.
That's pretty cool.
It was pretty dope. Got to use like powers and
My dream was
be a great guy.
all over the place. So the first part I can't remember, except that I was trying to get the sword. Like it was my mission to get this sword called the Holy Avenger. And it's
Was it you or like
It was me.
you as Carlor?
No, it was me. It was just me in the real world. And
those
you
listening-
were hiding it from me, Jerry.
The three of us played D&D pretty regularly with each other, and Jude's past character that he played as was an orcish paladin, and half-orcish paladin, and he, for a long period of time, was searching for this weapon that was like the holy relic of his deity. So that's where this is coming from.
But it was the real world. It was just
But
me.
this was the real world, and
But
so none
you
of that
were
mattered.
keeping it from me.
Hang on,
And
what?
You were
Are
keeping
you always the
you
bad
knew-
guy?
Yeah, okay, we were talking about that on the way.
No, because you, like, I don't know, maybe it's like subconsciously everything we're fighting for, you control in D&D. Like you
I mean,
are,
you are the bad guy.
you are the bad guys, the antagonistic force that drives us.
No, Jude's makes more sense than what Levi was telling me earlier, though. But go ahead.
Wait, what was I
No,
telling?
we'll get to that.
So my dream, the first half, I don't remember other than I was trying to find the sword and you were keeping it from me.
I'm just like sitting here, like hiding it.
I kept going places and I was like, "Where is it, Jerry?" And you'd be like, "I won't tell you."
I'll never tell.
And then I found it in your shoe in your
Hang on a
room
second.
from a house we used to live in.
Is
but
my
anyway,
shoe
It was
the
in
size of
his
the
shoe?
sword? Or
no,
is
because the sword also shrinks down to a pen, like I think for Percy
like
Jackson.
in Percy Jackson.
Yeah. So I merged those two ideas together. But I found it in your shoe. I didn't know it was a sword, but it was a pen. But I was like, I need to hold on to this for some reason. And then there came a moment where I was like,
I know
the
what this
pen!
does.
And I pulled it out and it expanded into the sword.
Beautiful.
But then the last part is the only part I can actually remember soundly.
when you
Well,
killed
relatively
Jerry?
soundly. No. Then we teamed up, and we lived by this.
I like Jude's
became the
dreams
good guy.
better.
Yeah, because I had like earned it at that point, and so I could use it as a sword and a pen. And then we lived by this big
But
tall
can
building.
you use it as a pen in sword form?
No.
Like holding it with two hands? Oh,
Nah,
okay,
just a
never
pen
mind.
and a sword.
That'd be so funny.
And for some reason, I was like, "There's something bad going on in this building that I need to use this sword for." But it's on the top floor. It was an abandoned tall building. It looked like the Tower of Terror from Disneyland.
From Disneyland?
Yeah. And so we got on those painters things that they hang off buildings.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
scaffolding?
Yeah, like scaffolding. And we like had to pull the pulley and hike ourselves up to the top floor.
The window cleaner.
There was a big window and we burst in and it was really sketchy and dark outside.
Did you have any powers beyond the sword?
No, it was terrifying because we kept hearing things. It was like really spooky. And we came into this room and there was these two guys and they looked like ruffians or vagrants kind of. And they were both like out of their minds. And then he pointed a gun at me.
Ugh.
And so we had to fight him.
Did
You and I fought. Did I have a weapon?
No, but you were holding your own.
You have your wit.
Yeah, you were like a bruiser.
These guys have guns at my head, and I'm
You
like,
were wrestling one
you
guy.
don't want to fight me?
And I was like fencing with the sword with this other guy.
Fencing with the Holy Avenger.
And then one thing led to another.
funny.
They weren't a threat anymore. And then we went out of that room.
My wit was what stopped them.
100%.
Yeah.
What stopped their hearts. And
You viciously
we went back
mocked
into the
them.
main area. And then there was this portal that opened up. Kind of like... And then like this creepy lady came through. And she was like, "You're not worthy." And then she took the sword. And she threw you out the window. And I woke up.
Wait, what does she look like?
Well, she looked like a character from this D&D show. But like this kind of like very tall, pale, gaunt, long arms, like ghoulish kind of lady.
Did she have long hair?
Yeah, long black hair.
Oh, okay. Black.
What? Heaven
No,
forbid
there's
it's blonde.
there's a recurring character in my dreams
Oh.
that would come after me. And
Well, she took
at
off her
the
wig
end-
and it was brown hair. So. Is that her?
Yeah, but
She didn't have a wig.
no, she would just like appear at the end of the dream, and I had done something to slight her, and so she would kill me at the end of all of these dreams for like a few weeks straight. These were like really long, like year long. It's a big thing.
You know, that kind of makes me think, like, you know how media in general, video games, TV, everything's kind of dancing around this topic of like the multiverse. Like, I don't know who started it, but something started it. But like the MCU, the DC comics thing, like all these video games, excuse me, they're all kind of like doing it. It's clearly a trend that's probably going to die really fast because it's getting kind of old already.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be like the ultimate form of like this like storytelling experience that interacts in like a multiverse way if Levi and Jude, if both of you had a character that you had never heard that the other person had in their dreams? Like Jude's like telling the story right now and you're like, hang on a second. Did this person wear like purple robes and have blonde hair? And Jude's like,
It's like, with
yeah.
gold filigree on them? Yeah.
yeah, and she had
How'd
like
you know- how'd
a
you guess
golden
that?
grill on her teeth. And what is this character we're making up?
I don't know.
And then like you had this character that was shared and it was traveling from one,
Individual to the
individual's dreams to the next. And I don't know. I mean, obviously it's ridiculous, but that would be kind of cool.
My world would follow that.
That would be cool.
Because then you're just one step away from while Jude is dreaming, laying down beside him and going to sleep and joining him in his dream, mind melding with him while
That'd
he
be-
dreams.
Do we have to sleep in the same bed?
No, I just...
You're one step away from sleeping right next to him.
It was just in the situation
Yeah.
where Levi sees you sleeping.
Yeah. He just goes, well, I'll join him.
I might
like
as well
this
lay
one.
right here. Well, he has to lay like opposite of you, so
What?
that his ear is like perfectly lined up with your ear, and so
Oh, our heads are
Yeah,
right
your
next to
heads
each
are
other.
right
Okay.
you see what I mean?
Yeah. I do. so that he can crawl out from his ear into mine
So his little Levi
and enter
consciousness
my brain dreams.
can climb out of his ear like some sort of terrifying insect.
That's fantastic.
Well, I bring the duffel bag.
The duffel bag?
Duffel bag?
Of powers. Because in my dreams recently, I've been giving myself powers.
Whoa.
Oh.
Bring those to my dreams.
Yeah, dude.
When you dream, are you fully aware that you were dreaming?
Not all the time.
Okay, because based on what you've told me, I would be very surprised.
Do you guys have any lucid dream stories?
Yes.
Yours are going to be long,
Mine will be long.
so we'll leave them for the last part.
Real quick, what I was saying earlier about Jude's dreams versus yours and me in them is that in Jude's, there's some redemption to my character, and at least Jude's had reason because I am the storyteller.
You were never
in
antagonistic.
D&D.
You were just holding it from me
but I'm
because
the
I wasn't
storyteller
ready.
when we play D&D or whatever. I'm the
game
one
master.
who the game master that runs all the bad guys. So that made sense. But in your dreams, it doesn't matter if it's D&D or not. I'm always such a jerk.
No, those are the only ones that I tell you
words.
about.
You're like, it was so frustrating. Like everything you were doing was so frustrating. And so on the way here, you're telling me about this dream where I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, we're playing a game and you all just die. And you're like, yeah, you were so frustrating. It's been like 5 different times you told me dreams about that.
No, yeah, I guess I just don't tell you about the ones where you're like a good guy.
A good guy.
Which does happen. You're like my best friend, and like in some dreams you'll be there. We'll go through a bunch of stuff together.
It's
I was
because
beginning to feel like maybe this is how you truly thought of me.
no, you're such a good friend in real life that the only area in which your character is ever antagonistic is in his dreams. Because in real life, you're such
That's
a great
factually incorrect.
friend. Or it's the deep down, Levi hates you.
Yeah, that's probably.
My
But,
subconscious hates you so much.
Have you ever lucid dreamed, Jerry?
I don't think so. When I dream,
What? Never? You've never had a dream where you were like, oh, I'm dreaming.
if I'm dreaming, well, I don't remember my dreams very vividly. I know that I do dream, and I can probably, if you were like, tell me about a dream you had, I could probably like try and figure out some aspect of some. It's not like I wake up and I like completely forget them. 'Cause I know some people do.
You just wake up from a void and you're like, well, time to
Was
start the
I
day
even
again.
sleeping? But I know that when I'm dreaming, there are times where I would say the vast majority of the time I don't know that I'm dreaming because I know in hindsight there are times where I've had like the same dream almost to a T, 10 different times, and while it's happening, I don't realize that it's the same thing.
I've had a read.
Because like if I could lucid dream, I think I'd be able to tell, like, oh, you've done this before.
I usually remember the dreams where I go, wait a minute. And there's always one thing. It's the only dreams I ever lucid dream are where it's my real life and I'm me. And then there's something that I see every day that's slightly off. Like I remember the first time we lived right near Shemeketa. We lived on Shamawa, right next to Kaiser Station. And I was in that house in my dream. But then there was just one beam on the wall that wasn't supposed to be there. And I was just walking by it and I went, wait a minute. And then the world just started to like crumble and get destroyed. No, that's what happened. Like the walls started to fall away and I was like, I'm dreaming.
That's amazing.
And then I tried to fly, but I could only fly really close to the ground because I was like, I would get afraid when I'd get any higher.
Yeah.
But my nose would get like scraped by the rug and I was like, ow, ow, ow. And I couldn't stop flying then. And I was just like shooting forward, completely prostrate, facing the ground. And I couldn't stop. And I was freaking out. My nose was rubbing against the ground. I was like, this hurts really bad.
That's terrible. So it was like lucid dreaming, but
I couldn't control it.
like lucid torture.
Once I tried to fly, I was like, I can't stop flying.
Yeah. I've had a lot of that.
There's another one where I always like, that's the first thing I do is I try to fly. And one time I can never fly higher than like an inch though. Now that I'm thinking about it, because the other time I tried to fly.
I've heard that this is a common thing. People that dream that they can fly, but they can't go like more than a couple inches off the ground. That's like a pretty common occurrence.
I'm always stuck super low to the ground. Because the other time I was in a parking lot and I tried to do it and I ran headfirst into a Jeep or like some kind of car.
I did that in real life.
Yeah, you jumped out of the way
Yeah.
and broke your leg.
When I was on a longboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I just fly. Well, like it's like I figure out that I'm dreaming, and then I'm like, all right, So let's do it. And like at first, I like freak out a little bit, but then I eventually get it, and then I'll be like flying or whatever.
I'm not always
like,
bound by fear. Like,
No. I know. But like, there's like some fear and like something holding you back.
there's like a
that you
physical
can't
barrier. Like, I
go
can't go higher
past.
than this.
But I usually am able to break through.
I do have a
and
deep-
it's incredible.
I have a deep fear of heights, so I don't know if like my subconscious.
I as well, and
keeping you to the ground.
I'll like start flying, looking up. I'll look down, and I'll freak out. My like heart will do that.
You get the
thing where it
falling
just, like-
feeling.
yeah.
Yeah. Lucid dreams are crazy though.
Yeah.
I can't believe you don't have like a memory.
I mean, dude, I might, but I'm not
Well, if
aware.
you don't remember it.
I don't have a memory of it, obviously. But yeah, when I dream, it's pretty narrative focused. Like there's a story to it, and most times the story ends.
Oh.
Like right before I wake up.
Like you have a conclusion.
Yeah, that's why the times I wake up and I'm like short for breath and I'm crying and I just don't know what's going on
my
is
gosh.
because I woke up and the story didn't complete.
That's rough.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You wake up crying?
Have you never woke up crying?
No. You
Levi?
actually physically
Okay.
cry in real world while you're dreaming?
Oh, I mean, I wake up and like I've been tossing and turning, like crying. Yeah. But it's not that it's just like I was like in a fairy tale world and everything was happy and that didn't complete, so I cry. It's just like something horrible is happening, or it's something that's like in hindsight, like not that bad, but
But
it
in
was
the dream for some reason it was like,
yeah. Oh, that's the worst. But like, yeah. I mean, have you never just had something horrible happen, or something that at the time felt?
no, I remember two dreams specifically where there were these, like a really terribly sad thing happened. And I woke up and I felt horrible. Like it had happened in real life, but I wasn't like, I just woke up and it felt like the cold sweats, like, oh my gosh. But I wasn't like crying.
Yeah, I mean, for
I
me,
was crying in the dream, for sure.
I noticed the times that that's happened to me too. I've gone back and thought about it, and I do think it depends on like what I was doing before I went to bed. Like if I was watching TV or listening to music, sometimes certain things that I'm engaging in can inform my dreams too.
Yeah.
So I try to be very careful with like if I'm watching TV or something. I've been trying to be more careful just watching something that I find to be very like thought provoking before bed, because then obviously I'm sitting there just like thinking, not actually falling asleep.
Yeah.
But also sometimes things that like might get my mind running and freak me out or whatever, like that kind of thing I try to stay away from late at night or before bed. Even video games and stuff, I've been trying to be more careful.
I like watching documentaries and like trying to fall asleep to them about specific eras in time. Like, it's
Because
really good on
then when you
Netflix.
wake up, you've made up facts that definitely aren't true.
Oh, and I think they're true.
Have you had that happen?
No.
Oh, I have.
What?
Just like watching something and then falling asleep to it and then waking up and then like days later being like, you guys don't remember this being like true about this? And then it was something I dreamed.
I get reality and
The
dreams
Hindenburg?
confused.
It didn't explode?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody knows that it was a wayward cotton candy machine that made the Hindenburg explode.
Yeah. It's like, I don't think that's right.
Yeah. A wayward. See, by wayward cotton candy machine, I don't mean one inside the blimp. I mean one flying through the air, just pierced it. And
And the whole thing ignited.
yeah, I mean, cotton candy is
It's highly
serious
flammable.
business.
Yeah. Cotton candy.
Yeah.
When we worked at the Volcanoes baseball stadium, I did a lot of cotton candy making. One day in particular, the machine was broken. So a cotton candy machine is a center receptacle that holds crystallized sugar, and it heats up and spins super fast. And so the sugar becomes a floss and sticks to a rim that kind of goes over the cotton candy machine and collects, and then you collect that floss. And that's how cotton candy is made. But this machine, the outer rim was broken, and just we didn't have it. There was a piece that kind of covered like one side barely. And so by the time I was done, my right arm
I have a picture of it somewhere.
entirely coated in cotton candy. And I was wearing sunglasses, and my face was plastered with cotton candy.
It was pretty funny.
But
so
my
funny.
arm no joke, was like no skin visibility by the time I was actually done. And it was
Like
just
mummified.
like a cotton candy creature from like Scooby-Doo. It was just cotton candy.
Yeah.
And I just ate that right off. And it was delicious. Except the parts that, it merged with my sweat.
Yeah, I remember sitting there watching you just nibble cotton candy off of your elbow, and it was disgusting. Well, maybe not your elbow, but like
I don't think I can.
your arm. That would be pretty impressive.
Yeah, I had my elbow in my mouth.
Your elbow was fully submerged into your mouth.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The ballpark was fun. I miss the ballpark a lot, actually.
I greatly miss working at the ballpark.
Don't tell them, but...
Yeah, don't tell the people. But, dude, I greatly miss that work specifically, and like the atmosphere of being at a baseball stadium.
It's
so fun.
It's very fun.
Whether things are difficult or you're getting yelled at or not, like there is still something fun about kind of being in an area that is originally designed to be something that encourages fun.
Yeah.
Like a family.
Originally designed.
Yeah.
Well, that like is fun for a family, and like, it's just supposed to be like a place of happiness,
Yeah.
dude. There's
Taking the
something-
Kubota out with the trash
yeah.
was very fun. One time I used to ride my bike because when we lived right next to Kaiser Station, I would ride my bike to work. And I got coffee one time. And I'm pretty good at riding a bike. I can't like no hands, but I can
You
ride.
make up for being able to ride a bike with your lack of skills in the water.
Exactly, yeah. I have zero swimming ability, and I make up for that in my bike riding ability.
Yeah.
I can ride with one hand on the handlebars, but none because I'm not that good.
Oh.
But I got coffee one time and made it all the way through Kaiser Station to the stadium with it in my hands. And then the moment I went from paved asphalt into the gravel lot, my front tire just completely turned and I slammed into the ground like face first and just threw my coffee forward.
Yeah.
And then one of the employees came in and was like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "I'm fine." Just wiping coffee and dust and rocks off my face.
It's kind of like that time where you were, there was a period of our lives where Jude's go-to joke when someone said something would be to just go full ragdoll and fall on the ground.
Oh, that was fun, yeah.
And it was funny. I mean, it made for a good bit. Like, people would say something, he would just crumble.
hilarious.
And it was funny, especially at like specific times. There's a time where I was recording Jude, and I have a video of this somewhere, and maybe I'll post it. I was recording Jude walk. I think it's funny. Jude walk towards me under the bleachers at the baseball stadium, and he looks at me, realizes that I'm recording, and so he does.
I just go limp and I just fall to the ground.
Incredible commitment. Like, limp, hits the ground. Like, there was probably some weight to it.
Oh, yeah, I had a
so much so that
concussion.
he was holding a beverage in his hands.
Yeah, I
like,
tried to save the beverage.
he's holding a cup of like Dr. Pepper in his hands with a lid and straw.
Yeah.
And he's walking towards me, and he fully commits so much that he lets that like roll out onto the ground.
Yeah. Because the funny part of it is that I'm in motion and then I abandon all motor function.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of funny to see someone
Oh, it's hilarious.
crumble onto the ground.
Especially for like with complete disregard for the fact that like you have something that it's not fragile.
No, but it's like you
but you're
never
wanting
want to
to
drop
keep
the drink.
like,
you don't want to
protect
drop. Yeah, you that hits the ground, it might spill or.
Yeah, that was part of like if this explodes, it'd be kind of funny.
And also, just like someone watching you do that, go, wow, it's funny because he was holding a drink and he didn't even care.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to punish him for that.
Yeah, I was so happy because I commit, I fall to the ground, and the drink rolls, and it's completely intact. The lid is sealed, and we're safe.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and
my Dr.
I'm
Pepper.
recording it, and I go, and I run up where the drink has like rolled out, and I just kicked it, and it just splattered everywhere.
all over me.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was so funny.
My drink.
Yeah, and then she's like, my drink. When we could easily just go refill it. But man, I love that memory.
When I worked at Kids Zone, it was like the concession stand specifically for kids. And the hawkers, the people that ran out with all the food in like the tub and were directly going to people and
Peanuts,
selling
hot dogs, get your kettle corn.
Refilled in Kids Zone.
Yeah.
And so
Because nothing happened in Kids Zone.
Yeah, nothing. It was terrible. But I developed a rapport with them, and they were really
why you
fun.
were over there.
And I took a large cup and poked a hole in the bottom, and then sealed or duct taped a rubber band to the back of it. And I would pull pens back and fire it through them. And I would always like try a little bit to miss or not wind it up all the way. But one time I didn't, and it was a really nice guy that walked in, and he was like, "Hey," and he was like putting bags of Cracker Jacks into his box, and I just aimed and I fired it, and the pen went penetrated right through the bag of Cracker Jacks, and that's the only thing that like slowed it down, and so it hit him enough to like really hurt and leave a mark through a bag of Cracker Jacks.
Oh my goodness.
It was lethal because we would fire the pens against the wall, and the pens, they were like those blue pens, they would explode. They would shatter.
They were the ones, they're just straight pens that have like a cap, not the click pens.
Yeah,
right?
we'd take the cap off.
So they're basically just daggers.
They're daggers. And they would shatter against the wall, and I just aimed it right at him, and it pierced through the Cracker Jack bag. And
Who
he
was
hit
it,
him.
Brandon?
It was Brandon.
Poor guy. Because when you said a really nice,
a nice guy.
I was like, who would you describe
like-
as like the overwhelmingly nice one?
Yeah.
That's Brandon.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty nice.
You're an evil human being.
I was.
Yeah.
I'm not anymore.
And then he found Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've been a Christian a lot longer than that.
Yeah. I've repented.
Oh, yikes. Man, there are times when I wish
There are
the
times
podcast
that I
was
wish-
video,
yeah, that it
because
was
Jude is
recorded.
looking at the mic and goes, I repented. And looks up at me
Looks
with
up
the Kubrick stare, just looking through his brow.
I'm a better person now.
I'm a better
I'm a better person.
I've repented.
I've repented.
I have Liam
I've repented.
I've repented.
I'm Liam Neeson and I've repented.
There was something I wanted to ask you guys because it's something that I've been thinking a lot about recently. And Jude, I've talked to you a little bit about this, but it's ways in which I know this is switching topics a little bit. I was kind of trying to lead the discussion in this direction when we were talking about dreams, but media, like the media that we consume, the things that we watch, and how much do we think that it actually informs our day-to-day, like our mindsets, but also be much further than our mindsets, like our relationship with God. The reason I bring this up is because I was talking to Jude about how Jude and Levi and I, we all love Dungeons and Dragons. We play a lot of it. Well, we tried to play a lot of it. Lately, we haven't played any we haven't played any in 2022. No, we did.
No,
we
did.
finished the
One
campaign
game.
in January.
Yeah.
But if anybody that does play D&D or is huge into the community knows what Critical Role is. I mean, it's a world famous Dungeons and Dragons show.
Group of voice actors that play Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
and they stream it so you can watch their campaign.
Yeah, so if you play D&D, then you know already what the game is. But if you don't, it's a group storytelling activity, I guess. It's a game that has a system of rules. There's books that go with it that give you rules for how to do certain things within the course of the story. It's typically medieval fantasy. And then there's somebody that leads the story. And then the rest of the people at the table are playing individual characters. And it's your opportunity to collectively just imagine together a story. And whenever you're presented with like opportunities or challenges in the story, there are dice that are involved to determine whether or not you're successful at it, right?
Yeah.
But these people that play online, they were already semi-famous voice actors from like video games, movies, cartoons and stuff. But they have now become world famous for their D&D game. I have historically been a huge fan of their D&D game because it's basically like what we do, but the hyper-focused, masterful version of it, because they are like master storytellers. At least it seems that way. And they're all incredible performers as well. So like you watch them play this game and you are watching what feels like a weekly 3 to 4 hour theater performance. And it's unscripted, which is part of what adds to its appeal, because you know for a fact that like they're coming up with a lot of this stuff on the fly, which adds a significantly more interesting thing. But I guess I'm just upselling the idea of what this thing is. But I have historically been a huge fan of it. And the reason I say that is because I'm fighting whether or not I should even watch it. And my reason for that is because like a lot of it is full of, worldly stuff, right?
Yeah. So
And more so than other things.
They specifically aren't a Christian group.
Yeah.
And so,
and occasionally, like part of my problem is occasionally they make that very apparent.
yeah. But
It's not like it's full of nudity or
No.
anything like a visual that I would
no,
say.
but it goes without saying that there are certain values that right now, socially, people with any sort of status go out of their way to say, I support this, I want this, and I don't like this. And those don't always, surprise, line up with Christian values.
I think
the correct
vast
values.
majority of the time they
Yeah,
don't.
I'm being a bit facetious.
Yeah, I know.
But so there are many instances in Critical Role where they'll go out of their way to make very obvious their beliefs on certain things.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
their
like,
support for things, and then they make it
especially
integral
things-
to the plot.
Yeah, that's
where
what I've
you
noticed
can't
recently.
like just pretend like it's not there.
No.
Because it is what their like whole focus is for these set of episodes. Or
Yes, like more recently, I've been noticing when they played through their first campaign, which was years ago. They had their fair share of expletives and things that were just overall generally inappropriate, and we would not allow in our own game, like jokes and stuff that just. And I would obviously, if somebody asked me, I'd be like, oh, of course that's not appropriate to say, but I'm watching the show, and then as time has gone on, it's slowly gotten worse. And my problem with it, especially recently too, is it's gone beyond. Because I know, like, certain things, like watching things that have profanity in them, as long as it's not so grotesquely over the line, some people leave that up to their own convictions if they struggle with that or not. But it has started to bleed beyond that to where it's like a lot of like the direction of the show, even the direction of the game's story and the things that they're doing and the things that they're saying, also like the reasons they're saying they're doing it. It's because of like I don't know how to say it, like an agenda, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
They've,
want to
like,
use that
figured
word because
out
that's
that
kind of a
they've-
buzzword now.
they've got themselves this massive platform, and some of them are fairly outspoken outside of like the game in their own
very
personal life.
politically outspoken.
Very politically outspoken.
And some of their agenda is political, but given like who they are and how they live their life, some of their agenda has, what I've seen and that they've been putting in the game, is more than just political. It is like moral, and that's where I've been kind of like I've been feeling convicted watching the show, because a lot of times I watch it passively, like I'm doing something else and it's in the background and it's just filling my mind, right? And then I think about it throughout the week because of the things they've done. And I play D&D and I run a game, so I also I will use that as inspiration, or it'll kind of get my mindset into a D&D mindset so I can make D&D content for you guys to play. But I don't know, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts, I guess, because it is actually something. This isn't like I brought this topic just to the podcast because I have a bunch of things I want to say about it specifically. I actually just want to ask you guys, my friends, what you think about it. Like, I've been feeling convicted watching something that I know they consistently are getting more and more depraved. And the difficulty for me is like, it's a show I really enjoy. I really have grown to like love some of the people on the show. I've gotten to meet all but one of them at a Comic-Con. And like, I talked for a long time to Matthew Mercer, the guy that runs the show. And I was basically telling him like, man, I look up to you. And this was years ago, but I was like, I look up to you. I look up to like the story you've told. And and even while I'm telling him this, I had in the back of my mind, obviously, I disagree with you on like 90% of your life.
Yeah.
But like this character he kind of presents himself as on the show, I was admitting to him that I did look up to him. And then ever since then, I have thought about that. I have thought about the fact that I admitted to that person, as well as myself, that I had started to look up to him. Like, and then I'm like, well, that has taken in my life, that has taken it a step further, right? Because I really enjoyed the show. And so this past year, especially, like this past 6 months, actually, I've been really convicted about the things I watch and the things I listen to. And their show, something that I absolutely love, I don't know if I'm going to stop watching it. I mean, it's been really easy to just forget about it recently. And then every now and then I go watch it and then I'm like, I'm uncomfortable. But then other times I'm like, oh, this doesn't make me uncomfortable at all. They're just making jokes that I wouldn't make, or they're saying things I wouldn't say. But the other 70% of the time, they're doing something really cool that I do enjoy doing. I don't know. I guess that's just a bunch of word vomit, like just my thoughts on it. But I'm just curious what you guys think about it. I've talked to Jude. I know I've talked to you briefly about it, and we didn't really come to any conclusions. You were just kind of like, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that. But
Yeah, well, it's obviously in all media, there's going to be some, well, not all, but 90% of media, there's going to be some
certainly popular media.
Yeah. Probably 100% of popular media.
Yeah.
There are going to be things that go against, I think, our values. And the extremes, I don't think anyone disagrees on. Like, you can look at certain things and say, I really like this Marvel movie. But there's only, or I just like this movie, and there's one point. Everything else is great. It doesn't conflict with my values at all. But there's one point where a guy says a word that isn't necessarily a bad word. It's just a word I want to say.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would really say then, like, well, the whole movie is then soiled. Especially if you're saying, and it doesn't, I'm not challenged or in any way, and I'm not convinced that, maybe I should say that word now.
Yeah.
No one's saying that's bad. And then the other extreme, like a movie that is promoting actively and making it part of the plot that you should be in support or change your life to be a certain way, that is wrong. People would say, well, you probably shouldn't watch that movie.
And not only should you not watch that movie, you shouldn't pay to see that movie.
No, you shouldn't
because
support
you're
that movie.
supporting it.
Yeah.
Like there is, the phrase voting with your dollar, right? Like if you were going to, I mean, that's another way I've been feeling convicted, like paying for services or things that are from Disney. When Disney is this huge company who definitely is not standing for Christian values. Am I voting for Disney with my dollar by allowing them by paying to go see Marvel movies? When I love Marvel movies. I mean, the last 5 or whatever have been terrible Marvel movies / shows. I don't know if I'd say terrible, but overwhelmingly they are pushing a specific agenda, and their writing has just gone out the window. But sorry, you were going with a train of thought, and I kind of,
well, I mean, paying with your dollars is an even, I think, tougher issue.
Yeah.
I think
it's maybe less of a, I don't know, go ahead.
Well, the conviction issue is, it's a conviction issue, right?
Yeah.
The problem lies in the gray area between those two extremes I was talking about, where how much is, well, I'm not convicted by this, and how much is it, well, you still shouldn't be listening to it anyway. Like, you can't just watch certain media that is objectively bad and say, well, it's not. And, I'm not
there's
convicted about
nuggets in
watching
here
it.
that
Then maybe the problem is that you're not convicted about watching it.
Yeah.
It's really simple. It's one of those things that's very simple but not easy.
Yes.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I don't like it at the same time.
Yeah. It's
because I wish things were black and white. Right. I think everybody did.
Is it negatively influencing you?
Yeah.
Yes or no. That's simple, but it's not always easy to say yes or no. Right. Yeah. The answer is simple, but getting there is difficult. And critical role is in our group, especially, a really important one, I think, to be thinking about. I don't know whether it lies in a matter of if it's negatively influencing you or if you're feeling convicted about watching it, then you shouldn't.
I think it's like when I'm sitting there watching anything now.
Yeah.
There's certain things that make me cringe. And it's not things that make me cringe because they're just stupid.
Yeah.
There are things now that make me cringe because I'm like, wow, I'm really trying to cut this behavior out of my life in general.
Yeah.
And I'm watching something that is explicitly demonstrating said behavior and probably encouraging said behavior.
Like podcasts. Well, critical role is podcasts, but comedy podcasts. I'm a huge consumer of a plethora of comedians. Which is crazy. You thought some of it would have rubbed off on me at this point, but
well, it might have.
Oh, I was talking about being funny.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was self-deprecation. But,
Well, it might have.
yeah, but so many of them are just foul, right? There's
Yeah.
a comedian I really like, and I think objectively, like the way he writes his jokes is intelligent and intellectual. But the podcast that he runs is so full of just garbage, like
Yeah.
comedy down to the point where is it even comedy anymore? It's just there's a word that I'm looking for that's I can't find, but just like heathenistic, just deplorable. That's what
Deplorable,
it is.
yeah.
Deplorable
Depraved.
comedy, where it's comedy, but it's just bad, right? It's
Just the
deplorable. It's-
vulgar stuff.
Because
Yeah.
you can find ways to be funny and laugh at things that are nowhere near that.
Yeah, that you
And
don't need to
It is
resort to.
it is a sad fixation that a lot of people have when what makes things funny to them is exclusively depravity or like having to resort to that.
Yeah, depravity. And so I had to cut those out. And it's because I realized, well, the jokes I want to make, I think it was important to recognize, yeah, they are jokes and they are comedy,
Yeah.
but that not all of comedy is pure, right? You can have pure comedy, not all comedy is not just this divine thing that can never be wrong.
Right.
Like there are things you shouldn't joke about. There are things that are not funny or maybe they are funny, but they're bad, right? And so I cut out a ton of that, and I found that the jokes I am making, I'm like, well, there's no one in my life that I wouldn't be okay making this joke around, and that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Like I don't ever want to be making jokes. It's like, oh no, I said this joke in the wrong group, and so now they're all thinking of me differently and very poorly of me.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I was going with that.
No, I understand what you're saying. Sorry, Levi, were you going to say something or no? I understand what you're saying. Like that has been something that's been heavily on my mind recently too. It's like when I'm joking around with friends or I'm with friends also in the company of other people and I'm like, oh, am I monitoring the way I'm acting right now because I don't want to act with these people who I normally would act this way with, but because someone else or another group of people are here as well. And that's really been on my mind as far as like, I should be identifying the real issue here, which is my heart. Like, why am I comfortable with certain things, certain types of humor, or just like saying certain things or whatever it is. And no, that's been something that's been on my mind for this last year, especially. I've been really trying to make an effort, and Jude, actually, you have been a big part of challenging me to think about certain things that I was not thinking about, and that has pushed me a lot to think about.
The conversation about Critical Role actually was interesting because, well, one of the reasons it was interesting was because we had I at least realized, we're in kind of different mindsets when we watch it. Like I am a delivery driver and I've got a lot of time to listen, right? So I listen to Critical Role.
Yeah.
And one thing I listen to a lot is like politics on YouTube. More so people's opinions on politics because the ones I disagree with, I love to listen to. And this is going to sound psychotic saying it to people, but I will listen to someone who I disagree with and argue with them. Like there's a guy on YouTube I'll listen to and I'll pause it and I'll act as if he's sitting next to me and I'll be like, well, that's okay. You're a little bit wrong here and here's why.
But he can't respond.
I know, and it sounds
So
psychotic.
it's the perfect argument.
Well, yeah, I guess
Because you're
I guess
always
it is.
right.
No, but there is a big difference. I want to clarify that you said that because it's not that I'm taking the opportunity to argue with someone who can't respond.
Yes.
It's that I'm reassuring myself of these arguments that get thrown at me every day about certain things that I know are wrong. And I'm saying, well, how would I respond to that? I don't ever want to be in a position where someone goes, well, how about this on abortion? And then I'm like tongue-tied, like, well, that's a good point. Or something I never thought about.
You're basically running through a critical thinking exercise.
Yeah, it's not that I'm arguing against a wall because I think, or an echo chamber of myself. That's unhealthy. But it's that I'm always ready that if someone says, well, what about this? I can be able to confidently say, well, this, and this.
Yeah.
And when I'm listening to Critical Role, sometimes I'll just have to pause it and be like, man, this is so ridiculous because of this. And I take a moment to kind of ground myself where I'm like, gosh, what a honestly just like silly idea to think that that's right. and to have that as part of like your person and your personality, and just be like, man, what a ridiculous thing, and then pause it and just go and just be in this mindset that's like, man, what a dingus.
You are, so what you're saying is the different mindset is that when you're listening to something like that, you are actively
I'm always engaging with it.
You're engaging with this idea that when they are saying these things, you are making a conscious effort to point them out to yourself.
Yeah.
And to specifically point out what's wrong about them.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
and I
interesting.
try to have nothing that I listen to passively, because you could also totally listen to it in a passive aspect.
Yeah.
Where you're doing something else and it's just white noise. I try to have everything that's white noise be unquestionably good, or like unquestionably just. Music, I try not to listen. I really, really try not to listen to music that, especially really profane music, ever passively. That's just going. I never want to have that in the background, so that subconsciously I'm just hearing these things. Or like Critical Role, I try to actively listen to those types of things.
Not to say that like the equivalent to music that is ridiculously and actively profane would be.
No, not that I actively listen to that. And I'm like, man, Hey, don't say that word. Like, all right, keep playing it.
I'll listen to this, but not passively.
Yeah, no. But I think there's an important distinction between when we're consuming media, the stuff that you feel convicted about, you should never be pulling that from your passive listening stuff. Like the music you listen to, you should really make an effort, I think, because I think most everyone listens to music pretty passively as a thing that they're
there are times where you're listening to it passively.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I get what you're saying. At least everybody does listen to music passively. But some people don't listen to it actively.
Yeah. To make sure that's always a edifying experience.
Edifying is a great word for it. Yeah.
And I do think some secular songs can be edifying, because in a weird way, like there's some music I listened to that I thought was worship music, and every time I listen to it, I'm thinking about what I thought it meant. Like I'm thinking about the Holy Spirit. I'm thinking about, this song is totally about this.
I've been doing that recently too.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice to find, even in lyricless music, which has been strange. I like a lot of classical, and I'll listen to it, and I'll just be kind of reminded, kind of the love of the Holy Spirit, or just God in general, the Father, like His presence. I'll be reminded of it through classical music. And it's nice to have this moment between me and God where the music isn't specifically Christian, but I'm able to listen to it in an edifying way.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, it 100% makes sense, because I have been, even today, I was listening to a song. I don't remember what it's called or anything about it, but I just know that when I was listening to it, because I was on Spotify and it was like recommending, random playlists, and I was listening to it, and some of it had like, I don't remember, like Switchfoot or something in it. But there was a song, and I ended up looking into the artist afterward and found that like they're not Christian or anything. Yeah. And I think it was a love song. But when I was listening to it, the words, I was thinking of it in a mindset or in the context of like, oh, this is about God the Father.
Yeah.
And it was just super encouraging. And then later I looked into it, and they're like the farthest thing from a Christian band, and it had nothing to do with that. What's going on? What is going on in our Discord? What are we talking about?
Oh no, it's just our guy in the chair posted a meme that was so incredibly off topic.
Okay.
Yeah. Just derailed all of our mindsets.
Yeah. Absolutely ruined the good conversation we were having with dumb.
All right. It's something about teen pregnancy. Or?
Well, now we have to explain a little bit about it.
Well, how about we don't?
How about we don't? Yeah. It's just a meme about teen pregnancy. And if that's weird, thank the guy in the chair for that.
All right. So, what were we saying? Was there anything else?
Media. Closing it up.
No, hang on. Was there something you wanted to say?
I got derailed by everything in my mind. But, there is...
We were talking about media, the influence it has on you, and passively listening to things.
Passively listening to things and not. I have been going out of my way to not have anything like engaging, like for I mean, that's probably what most people do for their passive listening. But
You said you've been going on your way to have not have something that is engaging be what you're passively listening to?
that what I'm passively listening to. Like
Yeah.
when I'm playing video games, I'll put on like a cartoon, like
Yeah.
a kid's cartoon, and but there's I don't know, there's I don't know where I was even going with anything.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I believe it was profound.
Oh, that's,
I think
Wherever it was going.
wherever it was going, it would have blown us away.
but no, I have listened to a lot of less than virtuous music, like
That's a delicate way of putting it.
yeah.
I mean, so have we.
I mean, who hasn't?
Yeah. But I would listen to that like all the time, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I've cut down on that and kind of realized some of it was like a lot worse than I thought it was. And then I got to this point where I was listening to some of the songs by these people, and they're like singing things about their lives, and I'm like, wow, these guys and girls or whatever, but live horrible lives. Like they make very bad decisions, and other people around them are they hang out in bad crowds, and it's just their entire life has been enveloped by like that depravity. And I get really sad a lot, just like, because these aren't people that I would really have the ability to reach in real life, because like they're larger names, most of them not living anywhere close by.
Yeah.
And like I'd probably never be able to get the ability to have like my voice be heard by them.
Yeah. To
in
anyway
any way.
influence them.
Yeah. And I've been really like sad about that, praying about that. And because a lot of them have like, or at least they'll say that they'll have like a lot of guilt about things, a lot of, or like wanting to do things better, and making the world a better place and making other things happen. And then you'll also hear them talking about just making very, very bad decisions all the time. And and I mean, there's people that I run into like in my own life that are like that. They're not singing about it. They're not like trying to put it on blast, but that's what their life is. They'll say, hey, I really want, I want to have all of these good things. I'm sick of the situation I'm in. I hate everything that's going on. And I just want to know why all these bad things are happening. And when they can be clearly pointed out, yeah, it's because you're making these decisions that are, it is black and, like, they're making the bad decisions that are like strictly black and white.
Yeah.
This is immoral and goes against everything that God has commanded us to do, which he knows best for what to do with our lives.
But some of them are like the things that have direct negative consequences
Yes.
too, right? Yeah.
That have direct consequences in this life. And yeah, it's really sad. Not sure where else to go with it, but like I have stopped listening to a lot of it. But there's some that I do listen to that just to like remind myself, like, oh, it's not everyone knows the good news, and knows that it even exists, really, or has like put any thought into it.
Or may or may not have people in their life that are. They may have Christians in their life, but those Christians aren't actively
Doing their jobs.
doing their
Yeah.
jobs well
Yeah.
enough. Yeah.
Or yeah,
Which should only go to spur us on, hopefully, to be better at.
I think there are two kind of interesting takeaways from the conversation, which is I think this is a great reminder for everyone to give a serious, genuine, and heartfelt approach to all the media you're consuming, passively or actively.
Just
And
be considerate about it, and in the way that,
Yeah.
like, not the way that considerate is used when people are saying, like, oh, be nice to each other. But I think be considerate in the sense
Yeah.
that actually consider it. It doesn't mean that we're sitting here saying that, oh, we're going to stop consuming all the media we've been consuming, or that you should either. I think that it's just that, like, reflect on things, especially the way Jude was saying he observes certain types of media, how he is actively considering things like, oh, this person just said this. I'm not just going to let it slide in my brain that, oh, that's just wrong and just blah, 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 or that, or not even think about it. He's sitting there and going, oh, this person said this wildly inaccurate thing. How would I respond to them possibly saying that to me?
yeah, I mean, root out the weeds, because the more media you have that is a weed, it encourages more media that are weeds.
Yes.
The more you leave in there, and you've got 13 podcasts you're listening to, and you didn't root out any of the weeds, next month you're going to have 27, and 13 of those are all garbage. And
It is incredibly true.
it grows and grows. But secondly, to what Levi was saying, I think it is kind of wildly off topic, but there are no prayers that are too big. I think it's funny a lot of time, really, like, people get really invested in celebrities' lives and be like, I love the character this plays and I love this actor, but it seems like their life is going incredibly downhill. They're probably surrounded by that kind of thing. And if everyone else is thinking that, nobody's praying for these people. I just think it's certainly not ridiculous to pray for those in the spotlight.
No,
the
absolutely
musical
not.
artists, celebrities, because those people have a huge face. And I think we've seen anytime an actor or a celebrity or a musical artist finds the faith, really, they all become very outspoken about it. And, and it leads to other people.
Either they completely fall off the face of the earth,
Yeah.
from the spotlight, or they are outspoken and they receive a ton of.
Yeah, and then you think of the influence that person has now sharing the gospel.
No, I know we're at kind of a long. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's like it's something that's like talked about a lot in psychology. How having media at the touch of our hands, we get these relationships with all of these famous people. That is, it's a very new thing for the technology that we have to be so close to these people. And it creates these relationships where it's only one way. All the information goes from them to us. And
Parasocial relationship.
We don't have the reverse on it.
Yeah, no, I know we're pretty long here, but there was something that that this is making me think about, something I've been thinking a lot about this past couple of weeks. It is, like you were saying, it's entirely not ridiculous to have these people that, okay, it's really easy to feel like somebody who's in the spotlight or whatever, it would be ridiculous to pray about them. And I don't know if people listening have ever thought this, but I know for a fact I have. These people who are famous actors or whatever, like you were saying, and it's like, is it disingenuous to pray for these actors to God, to sit here and go, please, dear God, be with them, but no, you're entirely correct. It's not ridiculous at all. And the person that's been on my mind recently, actually, is Elon Musk, because I don't mean this as a joke at all.
No.
I've been watching. He was on a podcast with the Babylon Bee, who is a proclaiming Christian organization, and their whole thing is satire from a Christian perspective. But he was on their podcast, and he regularly jokes and stuff with them, and does stuff with them. He enjoys their content. But Elon Musk is not a professing Christian. at all. He's not a Christian, and at least he claims not to be. But they had an opportunity to talk to him on their podcast, and he was sitting there with them, and I don't know, for however long, I didn't listen to it, but I have seen a couple videos, and there's a moment where it's very clear that this is a moment for them to share the gospel with him. And first and foremost, if you're a Christian organization and somebody like that, actually anybody, who isn't a Christian is on your show or you are talking to them, you should hopefully take the opportunity to share the gospel with them. But man, they had the opportunity to share the gospel with, if not one of the most influential people in the world right now.
Yeah, he now owns Twitter.
He now owns
most
the
influential
public square.
Yeah.
But not only that, I mean, he's so influential. Even before that, like with the war in Ukraine going on, he was like, "Oh, you guys need internet? I'm just sending satellites. Here you go, have internet." Like,
Did that end up happening?
I have no idea. I know he did send something. I don't know if he kept going, but like he's like Batman. Like he's got like this insane amount of influence at his fingertips.
Yeah, if nothing else,
and
massive influence.
And he does hold some
yes, that's
very
what I'm getting
conservative.
at. He hold not just conservative, but he does kind of hold like it's these people that you see that you're like, oh man, they're so close. Yeah. Like they have values that overlap, and it's like they even will say they see the merit of Christianity, but there's something that they're hung up on. Like Jordan Peterson. Like Jordan Peterson actually is a Christian now. He's talked at length about it, but for years he was either agnostic or he would say he's deist. He couldn't wrap his mind around the personal relationship with God. Yeah. But lately, oh my goodness, if you want to get worked up, there are some videos of him talking about it, and he's just falling apart emotionally, and it's beautiful to see how God has impacted him. And because he feels, you can see that he feels it, but he has this personal relationship with Christ that before he said he couldn't wrap his mind around. And no, but my point was just that, like, you're right. It's not at all ridiculous. Like, I am praying for Elon Musk right now, right? Like, and and when I thought about it the other day, I thought it sounded ridiculous, but it's because I am praying that, his circles are overlapping with people that are Christian. And they didn't take up the opportunity to share the gospel with him. They actually asked him if he was a Christian or not, and he was just kind of like, "Oh yes, well, you see, I think he was a great teacher." And he said like he agreed with some of the values, but then was just kind of let it fall off. And they were kind of just like, "That's cool, man," and they moved on, right? But they had this opportunity to share the gospel with him, and no, I've been praying that his circles overlap with these sorts of people, and I really pray that people in his life.
It is a very difficult thing. Like God did say, or Jesus said that same person, but he said he said that it's easier to pass a camel through the eye of a needle
than a rich man enter the
kingdom of heaven. Because
but imagine the richest man in the world who's this close, though.
Yes. But what I'm just saying is, like with a phrase, his money and stocks in things can plummet. Yes. And with the way that the world has been so far, up until now, pretty anti-Christianity in a lot of respects. Yeah. It can be a real blow to your career to come out. Because like a lot of people just fall off the face of the earth. Yeah. People won't touch them. But I think that Elon,
look at the way he reacts to that.
Elon
sort
is
of attention.
In a unique position.
He is.
Like he'll probably have like some Reddit followers that'll just be like, "Oh, he's a Christian now."
But look at how he reacts to.
But like, I think that he would have. Yeah, it would be great to see. Yeah, it would be great to see. But it's a very difficult choice. And it's a very difficult choice to proclaim it when you're at that sort of a stage. Not to say that that it's okay for him not to, but it is there's more to it than what we would have and most of our listeners will have to deal with on
Oh yeah, I mean the reasons why it would be difficult for him are
different.
certainly different than it would be for other people.
I'd like to
us.
have some of the difficulties he has. I don't know. But no, what you're saying is a completely valid point. He faces different challenges.
Yeah. I mean, all of us
coming to
face.
the faith.
But
Yeah.
that's not to
challenges with
say
that,
that we shouldn't pray for him. That means we should pray for him all the more, because if he does turn to Christianity, that would be a real.
Dude, it gets me so fired up.
It would make me really happy, honestly.
I was talking to my dad about it the other day, and I was just in the kitchen yelling, like, can you imagine how cool it would be if Elon Musk was like, yeah, I'm a Christian. And was like talking about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, because a lot of what he does is close to lining up with things like, it would be so cool. But yeah, we're at like an hour and 21 minutes.
Imagine if we could get
We should wrap this up soon. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
the Pope to be a Christian.
All right.
The influence.
The influence he has. Tremendous. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap.
with Elon.
Let's start with Elon,
Yeah.
and then we'll work.
And then work to the more difficult.
All right, let's go and wrap this up. Thank you guys for listening. I know this has been a really long one, and it's been all over the place, but I certainly hope you got something out of it, because I know that I did. This was a really good conversation. Thank you guys for talking to me about that. But before we go, I just want to thank everybody for listening. And did we have a last-minute, packaged up takeaway for them, Jude?
Yeah. Root out the weeds in your media consumption, because they will spread.
And be considerate, and think about, if you are convicted about something, be considerate about it, and think about why you are, and try and reach that weed.
And if you can't figure it out,
Don't reach for weed.
bring it up to those around you that you trust and have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask people about it.
Yeah.
It might feel like
Other
a ridiculous
Christians.
thing, but
Not just random non-Christians, because that can
Oh, and if
lead
you think
in
you're
the
missing
wrong
out because you
path.
have to pluck a few weeds, flowers add a lot more to a garden than weeds. So
That's true.
You replace that media with something better, your life will look a lot better.
like this podcast.
Like our podcast.
All right. Thank you guys for
right.
listening. And Levi.
Roll the outro.
Woo!
I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
That's a good one.